Every boater has argued about it. Ethanol gas or the pure stuff, which one you should run, which one's a waste of money, which one your buddy swears by. But this was never really about which fuel is better, because somewhere out there right now, in a garage or a shed, sits an old outboard motor that survived 50 years of everything, and it is dying, not from age, not from the water. It is being quietly poisoned by something we started pouring into it, and most of the men it's happening to have no idea what's killing it. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. This is the full story, not the corporate version, the human one. Because there is a certain kind of old motor that a man simply never worries about. You know the one. Maybe you've still got it. That old Johnson, that old Evinrude, that old Mercury hanging on the back of the boat, the one your father ran for 30 summers before he ever handed it to you. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't fast, but it was the most dependable thing you ever owned. It started on the second pull on a cold morning. It pushed your family through chop that sent bigger boats running for the dock. You dropped it, you flooded it, you left it sitting in the shed all winter without a second thought, and every single spring you'd squeeze the bulb, pull the cord, and it would cough and rumble and come right back to life like it had been waiting for you. That motor was a member of the family. It never let you down, not once. And you assumed, the way you assume the sun will come up, that it never would. And it was never really about the motor, was it? It was about who was in the boat with you. That old outboard is the sound of your father's voice carrying over the water on a summer morning. It's the smell of the exhaust mixing with the coffee in the thermos, the two of you, the only souls awake on the whole lake. It's every fish you ever caught, every sunrise you ever watched from that little boat, every quiet hour with the one man you wanted to be like. When your father handed you that motor, he wasn't handing you a machine. He was handing you the keys to every good memory the two of you ever made on the water. That's why you kept it running all these years. Not because it was worth money, because it was worth everything. That motor beat everything the world could throw at it. Saltwater couldn't kill it. Neglect couldn't kill it. Time itself couldn't kill it. And then quietly, without anyone ever knocking on your door to tell you, the gas changed. Sometime in the 2000s, the fuel standard shifted, and almost overnight, alcohol started going into nearly every gallon of gasoline pumped in America. They called it ethanol, and to the car in your driveway, it made almost no difference at all. But nobody standing at that pump, filling up a gas can for the boat, was ever told what that alcohol would do to an old motor. Nobody explained. It just happened. And the tough old outboards that a whole generation of Americans loved and trusted started dying one by one for a reason almost none of their owners understood, and there's something quietly heartbreaking in that. Nobody chose this for your motor. Nobody sat you down and said, the fuel that's kept your family's outboard running for decades is about to start working against it, so here's what you'll need to do. There was no warning. No letter in the mail. The men who loved these motors most, the ones who'd kept them running through everything, were the last to find out. And they found out the hard way, one dead engine at a time. A whole generation just kept doing exactly what they'd always done, trusting the gas the way they'd trusted it their whole lives, never knowing the ground had shifted under their feet. Here is the whole secret, and it is so simple it breaks your heart. That alcohol they put in the gas is thirsty. It pulls water right out of the open air, straight through the vent in your tank. Now, in your car, that never matters because you burn through a tank of gas in a week and it's gone. But a boat is different. A boat sits. The gas in that tank sits still for weeks, for months, all winter long. And all that time, the alcohol is quietly pulling in water, drop by drop by drop, until one day there's too much, and the whole mess separates and the water sinks. It sinks straight down to the very bottom of the tank, to the exact spot, the one single spot, where your old motor reaches in to drink. And the thing your engine swallows on that first spring morning isn't fuel anymore. It's poison. And it poisons that beautiful old motor from the inside out. The carburetor, the one your dad maybe rebuilt with his own hands at the kitchen table, starts to corrode. The alloys they used back then were never made to touch this stuff. The fuel lines, soft and trusting, begin to rot from the inside. The tiny passages, smaller than a pinhole, clog with white crust and gunk. And here's the cruelest twist of all. That old motor spent its whole life building up a coating inside the tank. Harmless, just age. But this new alcohol is a solvent. It scrubs all of that loose, all at once, and drags decades of gunk straight into the heart of the engine. The motor that survived the ocean is being strangled by its own gas. Mechanics have a word for what's left when one of these finally lets go. They say the engine grenaded. It just came apart. And there's something almost unbearable about the unfairness of it. This motor did everything right. For 50 years, it asked for almost nothing and gave back everything. It never quit on you in rough water. It never stranded your kids. It earned your trust the honest way, one reliable morning at a time for decades. And its reward, after a lifetime of faithful service, is to be slowly poisoned by the very fuel we feed it, for no reason it could ever have seen coming. A motor like that deserved to die of old age, worn out and honored after one last good season. Instead, it's being killed in its sleep by something invisible. That's not how a good and faithful thing is supposed to go. And it is the old motors, specifically, that it hunts. Because the motor your father handed you was born in a world that didn't have this fuel yet. Every rubber line, every gasket, every alloy in that carburetor was built and chosen before anyone was pouring alcohol into gasoline. Those parts were never made to survive it. So the very thing that makes that motor precious, that it's old, that it's from a better time, that they built it to last forever, is the exact thing that leaves it defenseless now. It's a generational betrayal. The newer motors can shrug it off. The classics, the ones worth loving, cannot. And some of the old boats have it even worse. A few of the classic beauties, the old Bertrams, the old Hatterasses, were built with fuel tanks made of fiberglass. And this gas literally dissolves them, melting the tank itself down into a sludge that destroys the engine it feeds. And you want to know the part that truly hurts? Once it's happened, there is no undoing it. No magic additive pours in and puts it back the way it was. Once that fuel turns, it's turned for good. The only thing you can do is drain it all out and start over, and pray it hadn't already reached the motor. And maybe that's what makes this whole thing feel less like a mechanical problem and more like a kind of quiet loss the whole country went through without noticing. These old motors were the last of something, the last things built in an era when a machine was made to be kept and fixed and handed down instead of used up and thrown away. A man could understand every part of that motor. He could take it apart on his kitchen table and put it back together and know he'd done it right. You can't say that about much of anything anymore. And now even this last honest connection between a man and a machine he could actually keep alive himself is being quietly taken away, not by time, not by progress anyone asked for, but by what comes out of the pump. Something good is ending, and hardly anybody noticed it starting. Now the men who know, they fight it, and maybe you're one of them. You hunt down that one marina 30 miles out of your way that still sells the pure gas, the ethanol-free. You pour in the stabilizer every single time. You drain the carburetor before the boat goes to sleep for winter. You do everything right, and you can hold it off. You really can. But think about what that means. Think about what we've come to. There was a time you never gave that motor a single thought. It just ran. It just always ran. And now keeping the most dependable thing you ever owned alive has become a fight. A careful, constant, worried fight to protect it from the very fuel they sell you to run it. The thing that used to just work now has to be defended. And there's a strange kind of love in that fight, if you think about it. A man out there right now, on a Sunday, draining the fuel out of a 50-year-old motor by hand, wiping it down, tucking it in for the winter like it's something alive, driving the extra 30 miles for the good gas without ever once complaining, because that motor is worth the trouble. That's not maintenance. That's devotion. It's a man refusing to let the world take one more good thing away from him without a fight. And you have to respect it, even as it breaks your heart a little, because he shouldn't have to. He shouldn't have to fight this hard just to keep his father's motor breathing. But he does, and he will, for as long as his own hands can hold a wrench. And for the ones who didn't know to fight, who just kept filling it up the way they always had, trusting the gas the way they'd trusted it their whole lives, for them, it ends quietly. And that quiet is the worst part of the whole story. There's no storm, no crash, no dramatic final voyage. It's just a man, on the first warm morning of spring, walking down to the water the way he has 1,000 times before. The air smells like the season turning. Maybe his own father is 30 years gone now, but that motor is right there. The same one, the last thing his hands ever touched. And the man squeezes the bulb, and he pulls the cord, the way he has 1,000 times. And this time, there's nothing. He pulls it again. Nothing, just the flat click of a motor that will not wake up. And he doesn't understand, because he did nothing wrong. He didn't crash it. He didn't neglect it. He loved that motor. He took care of it the only way he knew how. He just never knew that the gas he'd been trusting had been quietly poisoning it all along. That motor didn't wear out. It didn't die of old age. It was poisoned, slowly, silently, over years, by the one thing nobody ever warned him about. The water couldn't take it. The salt couldn't take it. The decades couldn't take it. In the end, the only thing that could kill the toughest, most faithful motor a family ever owned was what we chose to start pouring into it. And the saddest part, the part that ought to make somebody angry, is that the man standing on that dock in the silence, holding a cord that won't pull, will probably never even know what it was that took his old friend away. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe so the next one finds you when it's ready.